Hello, my friends. John LaRuffa here with another Strap Solo. In this episode, we're going to take a look at Body of Books, the expansion for Scholars of the South Tigris. We'll, of course, look at it from a solo perspective. Let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, folks, and as usual, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. And if you ever really do appreciate the support, thank you very much. So what is this expansion really adding to the game? First, it's adding these black dice, these experience tokens, and this page system. And I guess that's all it's adding. It's not just first that, but it's adding all that, and then it's spreading out that mechanic inside the actual game. Now these here, right here, are the little bit of the promo thing from the Tome Saga or the Moon Saga expansion. So these aren't technically part of the actual expansion. They just put that in there with the Moon Saga. What are you doing differently here? Oh, and also they offer you an opportunity to upgrade some of your action cards to ones that have brown enhancements up on the top. This is an old one, but this one, for instance, these are better. So what does this do for you? Well, the experience allows you to get these page cards over here, which means that it enhances the ability to flush out the strategy of putting cards below your actions, okay? It also makes this whole thing a little bit different. There's a system that basically, if you play them in a row, you can play them all for free, and then you get one of these little bonus tiles, which lets you either upgrade a card or do something else, and they give you extra points at the end. So this whole page system really enhances that aspect of the game, making getting more of these and getting more powerful actions a much more viable strategy. It always felt like in the base game, whatever you got was nice, but you were really constrained by so many resources. You could not just like focus heavily on that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I wasn't good at it, but I always found that part of this was an afterthought. Now it feels like a main thing you can do. The second thing is that the experience, or this track, which is the black track, really just plays into all that. So it just gives you all of these actions. And instead of using this space right here, the ink pot, to just translate, you can also use it to get these page cards over there, which is a very helpful thing because, again, it allows you to do more with this action than just these contracts. And then these cards here are a nice touch where you get to upgrade it. So it's the same, for instance, look at this. It's the same card, right? It still gives me that income, except now when I use this card, I will be able to take off or put on a gold onto one of the translators. Or here, this one's really nice. I can pay a gold to immediately bump up one of the primary color things. And in the solo game, you're only allowed to do that 3 times because if you choose the top row, you got to trade in you can't use the bottom row and vice versa. So you can only do that 3 times. And you can see that anyway here because the only way you can do this action, I believe, is through these, unless I'm missing a card that I don't see yet or something. From the solo aspect, the way the solo aspect works is it doesn't upgrade the cards at all. The only thing it does is instead of just placing one of these little tiles right on this spot when you go around, you will take one of these page cards from the offering wherever the page card has the most victory points shown on the card, and you have one of these, or he has one of these in play. You'll basically just retire that card like you normally would. That is the only real change to the solo itself, which is nice because there's plenty going on in this game, so adding extra isn't really not something I was looking forward to in that regard. So that is what you get. And the experience you can get throughout the game, it's all in these level 3 areas here. It's when you upgrade your cards. It's when you cross over here. And anytime you would get a book or one of these page actions, you can not take it and just get 2 more experience. And the only thing you're using experience for is to buy these cards, which cost somewhere between, I think it's 1 and 4, but right now I'm seeing only 2 to 4 out here. And if there's one space open, it makes the other one next to it a little bit cheaper. That's pretty much the situation. Now, these black dice are a little bit different in the fact that there are several things that interact with the black dice. There are cards like this, where if I put a black dice back in my bag when I use this action from my hand, I can trigger this, which is kind of nice. The black dice also allow me to, of course, translate these page scrolls. And there's another thing that everybody starts with. If you try to recruit or use a black die to recruit for this card right here, you would then get +3. Now, I just finished my rest action in this case, so these are all off. That's why they were sitting there. And this is basically what the game was going to look like. I'm almost 2/3 through because I'm really thin in this deck, and I'll probably end up pretty soon. So that's what you got going on. It's very much like the base game. Adding this expansion is not overwhelming. So let me tell you what I think about it. So the Body of Books expansion, in my opinion, adds a nice rounder for the strategies. It really rounds out the ability to retire cards, or in this case, translate those pages and put them under your player board, making those actions stronger. And I think that's a good thing because I always felt that part of the base game was a little underserved, in my opinion. And that's pretty much about it. Everything else is like nice little flair and flavor. I do like the idea that you could put dice back in your bag to do some incremental actions and things like that. I like the idea that you could upgrade those cards, but it really isn't that complicated of an expansion at all. Now, I would never use this expansion when you're learning the game. I would definitely get several games under my belt because the game is somewhat complicated enough with regards to all the different things you have to consider when you're trying to do what you want. Adding one more thing is just going to be very distracting. However, for the seasoned players out there, this is an easy recommendation from my standpoint to fill out the game without adding undue complexity or even more like I don't want to say it's not necessarily complexity, but just more stuff to figure out, more stuff that's just too much. It's overwrought. That is not what I see in this expansion. However, I don't think it's an essential expansion either. You could definitely play the base game and be totally fine with it. And if you're like, I don't really care about that, enhancing that retiring action a bit, I think you could skip this expansion and be just fine. I'll never not play with it. It doesn't change the game in such a way that I'm like, oh, it's either this or that. Do I want the base or do I want this whole different experience? Because one thing it doesn't do is it doesn't feel like I am, what do I say? I'm sacrificing something to get those pages, because you are in some ways, but the way that you're dealing with it, it adds a little more flexibility to a very tight and constrained game, which isn't a bad thing at all, in my opinion. So I don't feel like it changes the game so much that it's like, oh, now it nullifies doing all this other stuff. It just fills it out. So that's my recommendation. From a solo standpoint, it's very easy to implement. Really, you're playing almost the identical solo game, so that is not a stumbling block whatsoever. And I recommend it for those who are huge fans of the game. And this is one of the games that is my all-time favorite, and I like the fact that I can add to my all-time favorite game. It makes it just that much more enjoyable, and it gives me more to explore. And that's one thing that I think is good with this game. I really liked the base game ability that, based on what you translated, really set the stage of how your scoring engine works. But that was what a lot of it was about, right? It was about that. It was about moving up on the research tracks. I just could never master the retirement because I was always doing what I needed for the contract. It always felt like that was just an added bonus. Now at least I can put some more points and stuff into my board, and that can be interesting. So there you have it. I hope this was helpful as far as giving an overview and a little bit of a review of what this expansion adds. It's definitely not an essential expansion, but it's definitely not one that I think is, I'm not sure it was worth it. I do like it a lot. So thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it, everybody. And whatever you do in the future, I really hope you have a fantastic time doing it. Take it easy.